Okay, it says starting recording and
All
now
right.
recording. So 3, 2, 1, record on Audacity. Go.
All right. So, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Spinsters versus Spinster, where Kelly and I choose some films that we both love or adore, hate, or whatever, and we have a friendly debate about them. Either it be in a series, or be a sequel, or just like a film that either I love or she loves, and we just have a friendly discussion about these films. And it is my turn to pick the Spinster versus Spinster because I'm pretty sure Kelly has picked the last three.
Yes. So I
So,
left it up to you to decide what we were going to debate next.
yes, exactly. And one night I had an inspiration and I realized that Kelly and I are going to debate the two films from the Prom Night series, Prom Night 1 versus Prom Night 2, because I'm a big fan of Prom Night 1 and Kelly is a huge fan of Prom Night 2.
Hello,
And
Mary Lou.
which doesn't surprise me once we get into this conversation about that film. I'm just like, this doesn't surprise me that this is Kelly's favorite film.
Sorry. Forgot something.
Oh. The headphones.
Unedited video. Yeah, so because we always record videos for this for fun Coven exclusive stuff. Hello, Mary Lou. Prom Night 2 is what I am debating today. And Jess, I'm so surprised that I can't believe and surprised that you like a very basic slasher movie over this wonderful, campy, supernatural female revenge movie. I'm so surprised. So this will be interesting.
We should just put in the ding ding right now and then get into it. Because the gloves are already off, I guess. Especially when you add in the female revenge part. I'm just like, good job there.
Yeah.
So what? Oh, you better not have any kind of like guest appear or something.
First off,
all right.
The theme songs, comparatively, oh my God. Okay, the sweet, like, old 50s song or the cheesy, overly saccharine theme song of Prom Night. There's definitely going to be, like, just some personal preferences between these two films of what I like, and that's definitely one of them.
Yeah, no, for sure. I can understand that, right? You definitely have a little more, well, like Prom Night 2 is definitely much more campy than Prom Night 1, for sure. It goes in that direction, like 100%. It just takes a steam train into it.
Yep.
But that's kind of what bothers me a little bit, is that it goes from one thing to the next. Like, it goes from, like, I think I wrote in my notes, like 4 to like 1,000 and 100. Yeah. I was like, what is happening?
So briefly, what are your stories with these movies? Like, how were you introduced to them? This time around, I did not introduce them to you, I think.
Yes. No, you did not introduce me to them. I was introduced to them early on when I started finding out about Canadian horror. So, you guys, if you remember, I'm actually a big fan of Canadian horror, especially from the early 1970s and 80s. And we talked about that in our Cronenberg episode. And I really liked Jamie Lee Curtis in the 70s and 80s, like her early films. So after I saw Halloween and The Fog, I researched more to find out what other movies she was in, and she was in Prom Night. And so I picked up a DVD set of like Prom Night 1, 2, and 3 and watched those on my own.
Okay.
So that's how I was introduced to the series.
Right. I don't know. It was a long time ago. So many of these things I don't remember. So no like big dramatic stories. I just like watched them at some point. Except, Prom Night, I don't remember when I saw it for the first time. Okay, I do have a story about Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2, which I'm sure there's like a portion that's like ingrained in my mind. So,
oh yes, I know it.
So as a kid, I remember there was a movie I had seen numerous times that I liked, but hadn't seen probably in like 20 years. I was like, what movie was that? And it was about 5 years ago, I started buying up a bunch of horror movies. Partner and I split up, so I was revamping and getting back into buying some movies for myself, and kind of went on a like a super shopping spree. And so I bought Prom Night and Prom Night 2 together, and was watching Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2, and it gets to a specific scene because I had vividly remembered the rocking horse and how it was alive, and it really gave me the creeps as a kid, and like her fingers and it like sucking and licking her fingers. I was like, I remember this film, but I couldn't remember, like, after 20 years what it actually was. So when I went to watch Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2, I thought it was for the first time. And then it gets to that point, I'm like, oh my God, this is the movie. This is it. Had like this epiphany and this realization that I've actually seen this movie before. So that was super fun.
Yeah.
So Prom Night, though, you know, like I said, I feel like it's just like this very beige, very flat, basic slasher movie.
Oh, wow. She threw out the B word, the beige word.
Beige. Well, watch that movie. Very beige.
I did watch that movie, and I don't think so at all. I think it's got really crazy lighting that's really interesting, especially they have a disco floor. They do it like at their prom. It's a disco dance floor, and they have those amazing dance sequences and the epic kind of like music video dance that Jamie Lee Curtis is like, that's awesome. How is that beige? That's nowhere near beige.
So you're talking about the very end of the movie, which I think the last 5 minutes of the film is really the only interesting part. Like, you get 1 hour into Prom Night, you get one kill. Okay? And that's Kelly. 1 hour into a slasher film, and you've got one kill already. And so you get so many of the kills happening in the latter half of the film, which for a slasher, again, whew, it's very slow, low blood. It's like minimal gore, minimal violence. Some stuff's off screen or like just slightly off. So,
but it feels very Canadian. That's what I love about that. It feels Canadian, and that's what happens with a lot of these Canadian films, except for My Bloody Valentine, where you have like the first kill. But wouldn't it also be in Black Christmas? We don't get a kill right away. Oh no, we do. We just the first girl gets killed. Okay, so yes, it takes a while to get to our first kill. Granted, but technically those children killed the little girl. So
by accident. Yes.
But like, or was it by accident? I don't know. That one girl looked really like pushing it.
Yeah. Well, what was I totally forgot. So rewatching this, like, it opens up and I was like, these fucking kids, this is so boring, and the stupid song playing. So they're boring hide and go seek, but then the kids, like, it goes dark and they're like, kill. Then the girl dies, and then it's like, starts dark and interesting with these creepy kids, of course. And then it just doesn't really go far.
Like, to me, it kind of reminds me of like a really basic, and I guess because right now I'm on a Fear Street novel kick, it reminds me of a very basic Fear Street novel, like one of the really early ones where it's just like you have like these kids who accidentally kill another kid by accident, and then like later on they grow up, and like the brother is actually the killer. Sorry, spoilers, guys. These are spoilers. You know, but it's actually the killer because he's getting revenge because he saw those other kids kill his sister, right? And it's like he was plotting this. He was befriending everyone and getting into the group. And then when their backs were turned, he just started killing everyone. And it's just kind of like, that's like and I was like, it all happens in a high school. It's like high school drama.
Yeah, no, for sure. So you are not generally a fan of slasher movies. So what is it about this one that you apparently love so much?
I really like how in this one all the women are very sexually confident in this film. I love how like Jude is asking the boy out, and Kim is asking Nick for sex, and Wendy is willing to tell Lou to do what she wants, to skimp out of stuff. You know, it's just like, and like they're really like they're rambunctious and they're fun, and I just kind of like for me when I first saw this film, I didn't guess the killer until the very end. Like I didn't think it was the brother. I was like, what? There's no way. And that's what I like. I like that element of surprise, whereas I find in a slasher, it's like, well, you know it's going to be Jason Voorhees. You know it's going to be this person. Like you don't get that who done it. And so I like that there's kind of like a little bit of this complex story. And then you get what's the other element of it? You know, and I just like because you get to know these characters and their personalities a bit more, and that reminds me of more of like the Canadian films with like Black Christmas and My Bloody Valentine. Like you get to know these people more, so you feel a little bit more for them. Because you feel relatable to me. in a sense, but they're also probably too old as teenagers yet. I don't know what's happening in the 70s. Like Jamie Lee Curtis, she's probably done Terror Train by now and The Fog, so she's getting up there.
That's fair. Yeah, a lot of those women, it's definitely more progressive than you would think. I mean, it came out in 1980, so we're riding the wave of, you know, sexual liberation and everything of the 70s. And even though it came out in 1980, it's very 70s in look and feel and sound. And I know you kind of have like a personal preference, a personal interest in 70s. Whereas for me, personal preference is 80s. You know, we've got the looks, like the 80s fashion, the characters, the music and stuff like that. So that is a personal preference. Fucking disco, hell no. I appreciate the dancing and everything, but I'd rather not. Just rather not with the disco music and the dancing, but I get it. So just so everyone knows, and if I don't, I'm sure Jess, you know this, but Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2 is also Canadian. It was filmed in Alberta, and it was originally intended to be a standalone film called The Haunting of Hamilton High. But because Prom Night, the original, was pretty successful, they're like, let's just make this another Prom Night movie. So it feels obviously like tonally very different.
Yeah.
It's set in the same school, so you have that, and there is this one like little callback and homage in Hello Mary Lou, when the popular girl, somebody in Hello Mary Lou, I'm sorry, I forget her name, but she says, "It's not who takes you, it's who brings you home."
Yes. Okay. So it's
a popular girl on Prom Night says. Yeah. So there's that, which is nice. There is that weird subplot, 2 subplots in Prom Night that I have big question marks on. Like the subplot of like the burned pedophile from 6 years ago that the cops like, he escaped. It might be him.
Yeah.
And it's like, who is this person? Why do we care? Like, why is this being brought up?
He was the guy who was accused of it before. Like when they couldn't find out who killed the girl, because like no one came forward. They just like blamed the local pedophile, and they're like, well, it was him, and clearly, like you know, and they destroyed his life, because I know they were just like, no, we can't bring this up again. We're gonna destroy his life again. And we're like, because he didn't do it. No, wait, no, he did do it. Sorry, I'm talking about a different movie, but he didn't do it. But he was put in jail for it, and he escaped because he was innocent. But then they're thinking it. So it does like get convoluted in that sense, because you're just like, okay, this is where they're trying to misdirect you, and because they want you to not think it's the brother, because that is the big reveal, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. So it's a little strange, a little like, I think clumsily done. I mean, I kind of jumped away from this, but I do enjoy the reveal and everything. So I really do like the ending of Prom Night, but like you just have to get through so much beige to get to the last 5 minutes of the film. Like the guy gets decapitated and the head flies down the walkway on the stage. And I'm just like, whoa, this movie just went to a place. And then the movie's over and everybody's crying. I was like, well, this is sad. And the fucking stupid song chimes in. I was like, oh boy. Oh boy.
It's a mixed bag of things, but I guess I also realized too, it's become a comfort movie for me, because I've watched it a couple times throughout the pandemic, and like even the other night, like I had just thrown it on as just like a comfort film, because it just you know, it kind of lulls me to sleep. But then you're like,
lull you to sleep.
but it definitely very comforting. But so I guess I don't know, I want to say I will win or you or not, but we're having a friendly debate, so I can see your points definitely.
And then like premise wise, again, like I am a slasher movie fan, so the fact that Prom Night is a slasher is fun to me. I mean, there's many other ones that I'd rather put on. I would rather watch many other Friday the 13th movies over Prom Night, because the kills are there. It's just like, it's the pacing isn't slow. Like it's you know, my slasher's got to be fast paced. Like I need to see people murdered and there's blood and guts. Like that's what I'm coming generally for a slasher for, unless you have a really cool female character like Scream, you know, that type of thing.
And I actually made a note about when you say that. I made a note about watching Mary Lou 2, and I'm like, this reminds me of an early version of Scream. And like all of a sudden everything just like clicked in my mind. I was like, early version of Scream. We have like Nightmare Elm Street sequences. I'm just like, yeah, this is definitely Kelly's movie right away.
Absolutely. There, like the whole. So again, yeah. Sorry, I think I was going into this. Like, I am a slasher fan, so I mean, I like that Prom Night is a slasher, though I think it's just like a very beige, like a flat, basic one. And then you get over to Hello Merrily Prom Night too, but it's like a mixed bag. You got supernatural elements, you got slasher elements, you got possession elements, you've got a little bit of rubber reality, you got this kind of like weird inventive kills happening, which I'm really drawn to. This movie it's a hell of a lot of fun. And there's tons of horror references. Horror movies exist in the world of Hello Mary Lou Prom Night too. There are characters with last names Craven, Romero, King, Carpenter. They mention The Exorcist. So we have that like bit of like a horror nerd, film nerd, and he like keeps bringing out those Exorcist references. It's like, oh, she's totally possessed. Anybody got any pea soup? It's kind of self-referential, and I love that. Like that. How, as a horror fan, do you not love that?
There's an actual priest that comes in and performs an exorcism like The Exorcist. So,
exactly.
As for me, like when I first watched this movie, though, I always think of Degrassi Junior High. I'm like, this is what Degrassi Junior High would be if it was a horror movie. Yeah. And then it gets very supernatural.
Absolutely. Yeah. That priest. I was like, is he doing an occult ritual? Is this what your exorcism is? Because it looks very occult. Like, what is this? So random. He's not the run-of-the-mill, like, basic kind of exorcism situation that you would have in a movie. So I guess that's a plus. I have to say, comparatively, kills, death, murder, mayhem, gore, Hello Mary Lou is way better. Those practical effects, again, probably because here we are, it is a later in the 80s movie, right? So you are going to get more of our practical effects, our latex, our blood, and this like extravagance that if you love 80s horror, you would love that aspect of it. But like the chalkboard scene, the locker scene, the mirror scene, like those are really fantastic scenes of practical effects.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not gonna like disagree with you on that at all. Like, you're right. They have some really amazing practical effects for the 80s. And like I said, they remind me of Nightmare on Elm Street dream sequences. They add that bonus to it as well. But then I feel weird about the incest with Vicky and her dad's kiss.
Yep. We all feel weird about incest.
Yes.
I would think so anyway. Oh, it is a weird thing that just gets thrown in and then nobody talks about it again.
No one ever talks about it again. I'm like, what is this in here?
The dad's just going into it. She's possessed. So like we get what like her vantage point, because it's not her, it's not Vicky, it's Mary Lou, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the dad's just like, I'm going with this. Like, what?
Wait. Someone should be reacting here.
Yeah.
And it should be you.
Yeah. You should be saying no, but you're going with it? Okay. So you feel weird about the incest?
I feel weird about that. Yeah. And then also I noticed this intense competition between Vicky and Mary Lou. Like, they see other women as competition, and I guess what gets to me at points where I'm just like, because in Prom Night we don't see that, right? Like, we do see like Kim and the other girl having their issue, but I think they had a falling out, and then the other girl's just popular. But like, and I feel like in Vicky and Mary Lou, just anyone is around them is a competition that she needs to make sure that she is being promiscuous as possible to make sure everyone remembers who she is. So it's like, you don't need to do that. You could just be badass and stuff like that. But like, these women are not your enemies. They're with you. And that just bothers me a little bit.
Right. Yeah. No, that's totally fair. Mary Lou's a slut if you didn't remember.
No.
They said that in the movie.
I just called her a sexually promiscuous prom queen.
Yes. And she is unabashedly a whore. God love ya. And I see that in the most affectionate way, because I am the same. So I get that. I love that. Yeah, I think it's Jude. Jude is Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
Kim is Jamie Lee Curtis's character.
Okay, Jude is her like popular girl rival.
Popular girl rival. Yeah.
Gotcha. That we don't really understand why they have that rivalry. which was weird. I'd like to know a little bit more. I felt like a lot of the characters, though, I agree, and that was a great point about how the women are a little bit more like they're pretty progressive, you know, for 1980, and that makes sense, and that's pretty refreshing. But generally, I find them still kind of flat. Like I couldn't tell you anyone's name in any of these movies. It's fine. Mary Lou for sure, Vicky because she's the main character, but it was kind of reminiscent of Carrie in Prom Night, where we have the popular hot girl going up with a bad boy to get revenge on, you know, the other girl that maybe be rising up in status a little bit.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, what are they going to do? This is exciting. Just again, reminiscent of Carrie with those two characters. Again, names I do not remember, but I liked that. I liked that kind of like nod to Carrie. Another great 70s.
And so figure this out for me. In Prom Night 2, what exactly is the plot? Like, what is happening? Because I just feel like a lot of stuff is happening, but what is the main goal? Is Mary Lou just trying to become the prom queen? Like, have her crown that was stolen from her, or what? Or get revenge on the people?
Get revenge on the people that didn't help her when she was set aflame. I know one guy did a half-ass attempt, and then he's like, "Whoa, fire!" And revenge so and get her crown, because you know Mary Lou, she's a very colorful character, and she's got some shallow ideas and wants and desires. Let's get our crown. Let's actually be our prom queen and get revenge, mainly revenge on those that allowed this all to happen.
Yeah, through possessing another woman who accidentally wore the crown that was Mary Lou's crown.
Yeah, they unearthed everything from that magical box. So
So it's like Degrassi Junior High / like Goosebumps, because I find Goosebumps novels like that. Like someone stumbles upon like this old crown, there's like ghosts attached to it, and weird things start happening, and then everything just goes crazy. And you're like, okay, cool.
Because you have Jess, I think her name was. She was like the drama. Girl, the drama kid, trying to get fuck up the crown, and Mary Lou's like, hell no, you will not be messing up this crown. You will die now.
Yes. I am coming for you.
Shallow desires, and you know, but I feel like her desire for revenge for being burned alive is valid.
Because it was a prank that went wrong, right? Like, because her guy that she's like, I guess, scorned or told him, being like, hey, I don't have to go home with you if I choose not to. But so like, go ahead, Mary Lou, you're right. Like, it's, if you don't want to go home with that guy, all the power to you. And then that's not right for that guy to get all upset and pouty and be stupid about it. Yeah. But it was like,
you can be upset, but don't set a girl aflame. You fucking
yes.
I know it wasn't the intention, but you threw a firecracker or like a firework down on the stage.
Yes.
And she's wearing a big gown.
Yeah.
You didn't think that through, guy.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So I was pissed about that. I'm like, you can't handle this woman's free spirit. So she shoved it in your face. She's like, whatever. Yeah. I'm into this guy tonight. Whatever. Couldn't handle it. Set her aflame. I know he was upset and regretted it for like the next 30, 40 years, but he got what he deserved. Sorry. Sorry.
They kept the crown and cape. Oh,
yeah.
That would just be weird. Like, so every prom you just put the crown and cape of a dead person on someone? like
that was just like always there. Like, it's because obviously, I'm going to say obviously it never has happened since, and this was like the first occurrence. So did they just like not realize that this was locked away in like the drama closet somewhere? Why isn't this happening every year? Why isn't this fun thing happening every year? I don't know.
It is, and it's like it becomes like this big thing later on. Yeah. Maybe that was supposed to be like part of the haunting of Hamilton High, right? That would be like the first one and then the sequel. Like.
I actually haven't seen any of the other sequels. I think there's 2 other ones. Have you?
There is. I have seen the third one, but I can barely remember it, so I don't think it was that memorable for me. So
I'm sure.
I think it was that one's like in the 90s. It comes out later on, but I should check it out again. So there's another one, but yeah. Okay.
So what are some big things that you dislike about Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2?
Well, those were 2 of the big things: the competition, the incest. Right. How I can't follow the story, so I had to ask you. So what's the plot of this movie?
Revenge, the crown, the end.
Just wrapped it up for you. Yeah, there you go. So I get confused, and it goes all over the place, and it reminds me of like a choose your own adventure book. We're like, oh, we're gonna go this direction now.
Yep. Oh, there's incest. Okay, cool. I'm gonna not choose that adventure. Unchoose.
So I guess that's why, like, for me, a sequel should be something that really kind of carries on the story of the first one. Like, it would have been interesting to see, like, what happened to Kim and her brother, right? Because all you see at the end of the first movie is her hugging him and being like, okay, your brother just murdered a bunch load of people. It's not doing well. So it would have been interesting to see, like, what happens after that. But also, you get this completely different thing. You're like, what? Okay, I didn't.
Exactly. Setting it up that way and calling it Prom Night 2 is going to mess up people's expectations. Absolutely. It's like Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. People are like, oh, it's a Halloween sequel. Oh, fuck. You know, Michael Myers isn't in this, so I don't like this, and blah, blah, blah. So it's its own movie.
Yeah, so it's like,
I find that in. So here we are.
So if you put it as its own movie, then I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna have to say it. As its own movie, it stands alone strong on its own. So I don't think it should be considered a sequel to Prom Night. It should to just be like its own film. So it's unfortunate that it didn't get that they just crammed it in like that.
Totally. Just like leave it named The Haunting of Hamilton High. Make this another weird, campy Canadian horror movie. That's great. Like, it still is that, but you know, just taking off the prom night, because it's gonna mess up people's expectations. So I get that. That makes total sense. I agree that a sequel should carry on the legacy and the story and bring a little something new to the table, as a sequel should. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the endings a little bit more here? Because though I only like the ending of Prom Night, like the last 5 minutes, really great. So if I had to sit back and like compare them, I love the ending of Hello, Mary Lou Prom Night 2 even more. Holy moly. It's epic, right?
Okay.
This grotesque Mary Lou busting out of Vicky because she's all like burned up and she's out to wreak havoc.
Yeah, like
again,
Vicky's dead.
Practical effects. Yes.
Like, Vicky ain't coming back. Like,
that's like super dead.
That is like a possession where, like, that possession succeeded. Like,
that's true. That's true. That priest did a poor exorcism, ? If that's what he was doing with his occult ritual. Did he want it to happen? He wanted to bang Mary Lou, that's for sure.
Oh, for sure.
And then Vicky, as Mary Lou.
Because we have that epic scene in the beginning where, like, Mary Lou's like, I have sinned type thing, and
oh yeah, and he's just over there in his robe with his boner. Which I know you love Prom Night, so what are your feelings on the endings of both movies?
No, you're right. I actually do like the ending of Prom Night 2 more than Prom Night 1, because it just ends. Like, you just get that epic decapitation, the fight scene, and then the reveal, and then it's done. And I was like, oh, where's the father? What happened to, because it's Leslie Nielsen that's in the film. Like, what happened to him? He just disappears. The mother, like, this weird, you're introduced to this interesting relationship between her mother and Kim, and how she like lives in the shadow of her dead sister. It just ends. And so it's that I'm not unsatisfied with Prom Night 2, and that's Prom Night, and that's why I was hoping in like a Prom Night 2 we would see more. Whereas in Prom Night 2, you, like you said, you get this epic ending. You're like, I did not expect it to go there. And like you said, like, and I said, like, that girl's dead. Vicky is dead, and no one's coming back from that.
Nope. Not when another being forces its way out of your body.
Yeah.
Is that like pregnancy?
Birth? Like, yeah, kind of very similar. A lot of
out into the world, and you're never the same, and you're kind of dead inside. I don't know. Women, mothers, speak up. Let me know if that's how it is. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, like, our father figures. We have Leslie Nielsen in Prom Night. We have Michael Ironside in Hello, Mary Lou Prom Night 2. Hello.
Yeah.
Both classic, like, character actors, but Michael Ironside, come on. Better.
Yes, I grew up with Leslie Nielsen and knowing who he was. I didn't know who Michael Ironside was until like a couple or so years ago, when I got more in the horror community, and he shows up in a lot of things.
Also, Michael Ironside is Canadian. also is known as Leslie Nielsen. Okay. These are very Canadian films. I thought I was going to get a one-up on you, and I'm like, I think Michael Ironside is Canadian. They're both Canadian. They're very Canadian films. Just tonally very different.
They're very tonally different.
Again, I'll add this quote sequel to the weird, tonally different sequels that I love. It's on my list that are just so weird.
Really totally weird that you love?
Pet Sematary 2,
yes.
Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, stuff like that. That's just so this like so vastly different than the first movie in the series. You're like, what is this? It's so, they're always so campy and strange, and you know, gotta love them.
When you say that, that's how I feel about those other two movies, right? Like, I really like Pet Sematary 1. I really like the Blair Witch one. And then I watched the sequels, and I'm like, what is this? This is not what I signed up for.
Really?
They're not sequels. They're their own movies now.
Yeah, exactly. I guess any final thoughts, your final nail in the coffin to drive home why you think Prom Night is superior?
Like I said in the last little bit there, I feel it's a superior film just because it does start beginning this really interesting storyline and these interesting characters, which is kind of like almost like a Halloween or the Friday the 13th. And if they had gotten a really good sequel after that, we could have probably seen more franchises come from these films. But I know we did get franchises, but they're so like, you know, totally different. And I just can't always seem to get on board. I don't know. Especially because if I watch Prom Night 1, I want to see Prom Night 2. And then I'm like, oh, but it's so different. That's like a different night movie.
Yeah. Totally very different. And you're right. If they, I guess since they did Hello, Mary Lou, and then again, like I said, I haven't seen the other two, but I think they're all just like campy, weird nonsense. That it's very different. Like Prom Night is very serious. It is a very serious slasher movie.
Yeah. Exactly. And I like those very serious 70s, 80s slasher films like The Burning and Black Christmas. And those are my favorite. Yeah. When they get too bonkers, that's when I tap out. And that's usually the same thing with Friday the 13th. I start to tap out after a bit. I'm like, I can't stand these. And everyone's like, but what do you mean you don't love Jason Goes to New York? I'm like, because it's crazy. So different.
Jason Takes Manhattan.
Thank you.
He goes to New York.
Yes.
Goes to Big Apple. My ending is yes, very tonally different, and you're either going to be into that or you're not going to be into that. 70s versus 80s aesthetic. Again, there's going to be some personal preferences there. I would say because of it's like a mishmash of a premise, possession, supernatural, revenge. We've got like tons of horror references. I feel like Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2 is a horror fans movie.
I was going to say Wet Dream.
Yeah. The rocking horse, licking your fingers. Tons of wonderful, almost like groundbreaking practical special effects. It's super fun. It's campy. It's highly entertaining. It's going to give you everything you want in a slasher movie. So I will forever champion Hello, Mary Lou, Prom Night 2.
And fair enough. And here we are.
Folks, our next episode, because we've already discussed this and confirmed it, of Spinster versus Spinster is going to be on Sinister. So I love Sinister. It is on my like top 10 like favorite films of the 2010s. So I love it. And Jess thinks it's overrated.
Yes.
So we will be debating that in the next couple of months. So until then, folks, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.